senior monk and a junior monk were traveling together, their saffron robes a stark, warm contrast against the cool, deep greens of the forest. They walked in silence, a practice they had maintained for many years. Their only company the gentle rustling of leaves and the distant call of unseen birds. Their path, worn smooth by the footsteps of countless pilgrims before them, meandered through ancient trees that stood like silent guardians, their branches forming a verdant canopy overhead. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming wildflowers, a fragrance that seemed to deepen the pervasive sense of peace. At one point, they came to a river, its waters flowing with a swift and determined current. The sunlight, filtering through the dense foliage, danced upon the surface, creating a mesmerizing pattern of light and shadow. As the monks paused, contemplating the best way to cross, they saw a very young and beautiful woman standing hesitantly at the river's edge. Her fine silk garments were ill-suited for the crossing, and her face was etched with worry as she gazed at the churning water. Seeing the two monks, she approached them with a respectful bow and asked if they might help her get to the other side. The two monks glanced at one another, a silent exchange passing between them. They had taken solemn vows, a cornerstone of their monastic life, which strictly forbade them from touching a woman. The rule was absolute, a barrier designed to prevent attachment and preserve their spiritual purity. The junior monk immediately averted his gaze, his mind already reciting the precepts, reinforcing the wall of his discipline. He expected his elder to do the same, to perhaps offer words of encouragement, but nothing more. Then, without a word, the older monk waded into the cool water. He gestured for the woman to come forward, and with a calm and steady strength, he picked her up in his arms. He carried her across the powerful current, as if she weighed nothing at all. Her initial surprise gave way to a quiet gratitude as he navigated the slippery stones with practiced ease. On the other side, he placed her gently on the dry bank. She bowed deeply, her voice filled with relief as she offered her thanks. The senior monk simply nodded, turned, and carried on with his journey, his wet robes dripping onto the dusty path. The younger monk couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. He quickly crossed the river himself, his mind reeling with confusion and a burgeoning sense of indignation. After rejoining his companion, he was utterly speechless. He walked behind the senior monk, the flagrant violation of their sacred vow replaying over and over in his thoughts. An hour passed in a heavy, charged silence. The sounds of the forest, once so calming, now seemed to mock his inner turmoil. 2 more hours passed, then 3. The sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across their path. Finally, the younger monk could not contain himself any longer. His frustration and judgment spilled out in a torrent of words. He blurted out, "As monks, we are not permitted to touch a woman. That is a sacred vow we both took. How could you then defile your practice and carry that woman on your shoulders across the river?" His voice was sharp, a stark contrast to the tranquility of their surroundings. The older monk stopped walking. He turned to face his agitated companion, his eyes filled not with defensiveness, but with a gentle, profound compassion. He looked at the younger man and replied with a soft, steady voice, "Brother, I set her down on the other side of the river hours ago. Why are you still carrying her? Resisting what life is trying to tell you is exhausting, but resisting what life has already told you is guaranteed to be in vain. What's done is done. The past is a river we have already crossed. To carry its burdens is to drown in a place where we no longer stand. If you feel guilty, it was a mistake you can learn from and perhaps fix. If you feel ashamed, it was a mistake you should resolve not to repeat. But regret? That's just dragging a past event, a moment that has already dissolved, into the pristine space of the present. It's a toxic attempt to twist the unchangeable fabric of reality. And it always backfires, weighing you down long after the original burden has been set aside.